thing is I'm with you, but not in you, in the place I should be.
Messi, DNA Blaugrana. It all started in the streets of Rosario in Argentina with a ball that he was given by his grandmother Celia. Then he started playing for the local neighborhood team. A short while later, and he moved on to the junior team of Newell's All Boys. Even at this tender age, Lionel Messi left spectators open-mouthed and dumbfounded as he dribbled as one born to the art, leaving opponents in his talented wake. But his grandmother spoke for many. This boy will play football. And he was hardly 13 years old when he crossed the Atlantic Ocean to try his luck in Barcelona. Well, I was playing for Newell's. They came to see me play, and they brought me over for a fortnight's trial here. So I was here for 2 weeks on trial, and then I went back to Argentina. The next month, they rang me to say that I was in and that I should come back. And it started from there when I was playing for the under-14s. Barce paid for growth hormone treatment he wasn't getting in Argentina. Those injections didn't only help him to grow, he also implanted the Barce DNA into the young Leo. Well, they told me there was a youngster who was of the under-14s A team age, but they wanted to start him in the under-14s B team because he was coming from abroad, from Argentina. He was very small physically, so he trained with us and we gave him plenty of football until his papers were sorted out and he could play in official games. That skinny boy, who was only 1 meter 40 centimeters in height, was pure talent. He'd already shown his dynamite potential in Argentina, and that would explode in Barcelona. And here, alongside boys who were as promising as he was, the Argentinian teenager began to learn how to harness his skills for the good of the team. His first season, however, ended early. After waiting a long time to finalise his signing in the second league game of the campaign, he was tackled very heavily down near our bench, and, well, that was the end of the season for him. An ankle injury was the first hurdle to overcome for Leo in his young career at Barca, and it was an early lesson to learn. If he dribbled with the ball, he would run the risk of being kicked by opposing defenders. Leo had to change his way of thinking about the game. The fastest route for him was to get hold of the ball and go for it. And with the help of 2 or 3 teammates, well, he could do that. And if he does it alone, well, he does it alone. It's not a problem. But then in competitive games, you find a different style. You know that for their own reasons, the opposing team will block your way, whatever. And so you need the support of your teammates. And you gradually make your way forward like that. Another thing is that here at Barce we have very good players, and I think this makes it a little easier compared to the physical and mental wear and tear that might exist somewhere else, where maybe he'd have to put in more running, maybe there'd be a greater risk of injury. Because here, all the players are good, and the other teams, well, you have to share the kicks around between them all. The following season, there were bureaucratic problems concerning his transfer, and that limited the number of games he could play. Well, when I found out I couldn't play with the under-16s because of my papers, it was hard to take because I'd had a serious injury. Then I started the season with my teammates, and then you're back playing. They stop you again. There wasn't too long left, but you had to make the most of it with the friendly tournaments for the rest of that to get your rhythm for the next season. Well, he's a very calm boy. He's very quiet. Now he's more confident in expressing himself. But the fact is that as a boy, he looked a little sad back then. But when he trained, well, he was incredible. Finally, in January 2002, Messi could play without hindrance. Yes, last season I was playing, and a few minutes into the game I got injured. Now I'm back, and I'm very happy. I like stamina, speed. Yes, I get tired sometimes. Well, he liked to play as a link man, like all Argentinians. We played him further out on the left because that worked with our system, but he had a tendency to drift inside because I think that's where he enjoyed it more, and he knew that if he could dribble past people there, he'd be in front of goal. Messi liked playing further in field because his hero could only have been one player. Well, the same as all Argentina. My hero's Maradona. Would you like to play for Argentina here one day? I'd love to. Be a dream. Gradually, Messi's dreams came true, but that season with the under-16s B team was an historic one. That was the only time when a B team beat an A team in the Barce Espanyol game. In the league, Barca B ended 7 points ahead of Espanyol A. That had never happened. Usually Espanyol A won their league and Barca A would win the other. Yes, it means a lot because to be able to beat Espanyol A is great. According to his coaches, that shy, polite boy had a peach of a left foot. He was perhaps rather timid off the pitch, but he expressed himself with the football as naturally as he breathed, and the Barca style of play suited him down to the ground. Barca's junior teams have a unique style, and that makes it easier for technical players. It could be that in another Spanish club, the likes of Iniesta or Xavi or Messi, with their physical characteristics, well, maybe they wouldn't get a game. Because it could be that a tall, strong player will get the place. And this has happened with some players.
I hear the things you say. I read your mind and I understand. Maybe the plans we made somehow got off the track. Maybe so, or we just forgot to plan. If it's true.
Well, the first thing I remember about Leo is a very young boy, very small in stature, a lot of hair. He was very quiet, very formal. Those were the first impressions of Alex Garcia, the only coach from the Barca youth ranks who was able to play Messi for a full season. That was in 2002-2003. It was a very good season. We won the Catalan League and the Spanish League with players like Cesc, Piqué, Leo himself, of course, Victor Vázquez, Marc Valiente, Franzongo. Very good year, and most of them are now playing for top teams. All those players were part of the generation of '87. But what did Messi bring to the team? Well, he really stood out in taking people on. In one-on-ones, he was tremendous. He scored a lot of goals because he was able to get into the opposition area. Yes, he really stood out, but there were others too, such as Victor Vázquez, Gerard, Cesc. 4 or 5 players in that team were different from the rest. You could see it when they touched the ball for the first time. They were just different players. Messi certainly did score goals, and in one game he bagged 5, but he was as modest as ever afterwards. Fine. We played well from the first minute, we moved the ball around fast, and luckily enough we were able to score early and kill the game off. Yeah, fine, scoring 5 goals. Yeah, I hope I can score more. That's all. Messi's most explosive season in the youth ranks at Barca was 2004-2005. In record time, he went up through the under-19s B, the under-19s A, Barca C team, Barca B team, and then he made his bow for the first team in a friendly game. At the start of the season, Leo was 16 years old and he signed his first professional contract. Well, they called me in a week ago or so and said that they wanted to sign me as a professional, and yeah, I was really happy at that, of course. Well, we'd seen him training, we'd seen him playing with the under-19s, and we thought he could bring things to us. That's what he did. We were having some problems because, well, the third division is a hard league, and because we had some very young lads, and it was the year in which it was a particularly tough division. So, Leo came in, and he brought us something fresh, really helped us as a team and individually. 1 goal for the under-19s B, 21 goals for the under-19s A, 5 goals in 8 games for Barca C and 5 games for Barca B. Those were the impressive figures for Leo that season, and he made his way up and down the various teams without lowering his high standards. An example for everyone. Well, he loved football so much that it was hard for him to say no to anyone. And I remember even that he'd sometimes go with his teammates from the under-19s B when he wasn't playing with another team because they were playing at a different time. And he'd go to the team talks. He was someone who really identified with the club, and he really loved football. And all that has gone to make him the great player he is today. That season, Barce were in the lower reaches of the league table until Messi came and reignited their campaign. Well, I'd say that he had an extra gear. If the top gear was fifth, he could find a sixth, and that meant that sometimes he was unstoppable. And he was really great for us in the sense that in him we had a player who could simply win games. I think he was with us 8, 9 games, and he really added something. Well, obviously it wasn't him just on his own, but with the help of his teammates. He felt strong, he felt looked after, and they were there to help him. And he brought that something extra that brought more stability to the team. He didn't play many games for Barce C because Kroz also wanted Messi for his team. Leo was only 16, but his age didn't concern anyone. I saw that he was an extraordinary player, excellent. He did things with ease, things that were difficult, he made them look easy. That's what the real talents can do, and he was someone out of the ordinary. Someone who makes difficult things look easy. And he did this regularly. It wasn't something that happened by chance, and I loved it. In fact, I'd be watching him more than I had to because my assistants would be there getting things ready for training. He was sensational. And then when Arsene said to me that he had to be playing with us because of what he was doing, we talked about making a plan for him to join us as soon as possible. And so Messi started training with Barce B, and plans were laid so that he could play with the least possible pressure. Well, physically he couldn't bring anything to the team. He was small, skinny then, he lacked physical development, especially in his legs, and so there was a lot of work on power and speed. He had to build up his stamina too, which was normal. But when he had the ball at his feet, well, he had a tremendously competitive spirit. It wasn't the same when someone else had the ball and when Messi had the ball. And this meant that when the players in my team in Barce B saw this player of 16 years old doing these things, they wanted to imitate what he was doing. And this led to a lot of competition that was very positive. After a lot of hard work, especially on building himself up physically, it looked like Messi was ready to make his debut with Barce B. But before his bow with the reserve team, fate had a surprise in store for him. Well, one Tuesday, we were there with Frank Rijkaard because we had meetings in midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we were talking a little about junior football, possible players for the team. And I remember that week we had a game in Novelda, it was a league game, and the first team had to play a game to mount the opening of the new stadium in Porto, in Portugal. And Rijkaard said, look, I'm really sorry, Pera, but I have this game at the weekend, I'll need some players. So I said, well, okay, for this position there's this player, for that position there's that player. And when I finished, I said, there are 2 players who are training with us, these are Oriol and Leo Messi, and I think it'd be good if they went with you. And he said to me, Oriol and Messi. And I said, yes, you should take them along. So he asked what positions they played, and I said that Messi can play anywhere on the pitch. And so next week, when we meet again, we can talk about how it went. And he said, well, okay, that seems fine to me. So we went to play our game in Novelda. We drew 2-2, as I remember. They played in Porto and lost 2-0. We met on the Tuesday, we talked about how things went, our team, his team, and in the end we talked about Barce, and he hadn't said anything. So I said, well, hey, boss, what about Leo? What about Leo Messi? And he said, but better. That's a player who in the 16 minutes he was on the pitch, because he was only on for the last 16 minutes, he won a penalty, he created a clear scoring chance, and he was the best player out there. That means he's a player for us. Well, my father told me on Thursday night. He'd been told that maybe I'd be called up to go to Porto, but he still wasn't sure. And later he was told that it had been confirmed, it was for sure, and so, yes, it was my father who told me. Didn't tell anyone, but it came out in the papers that I'd be going, and that was that. Dream come true, of course, and I hope that in the future I can play in the first team again.
Ya se me cumplió mi sueño. Espero que más adelante pueda seguir jugando en el primer equipo.
From that day, Messi trained with the senior squad once a week, and shortly afterwards it became twice and then 3 times a week. And he soon ended up training more with the senior squad than the reserves. But at the weekends, he was playing with Barce B.
I li dic, doncs mira, doncs diumenge, això era dimarts.
So one Tuesday I said to him, well, you're playing on Sunday.
Va quedar una mica aturat, no?
And he was a bit taken aback. He says, I'm playing? I said, yes, you're playing on Sunday. And don't worry.
Tranquil, no et preocupis.
You just play the way that you've been trained. I think the way you've been training, you're at the same level as the other players, especially physically, which is what I was most concerned about, because in other respects you're better. So just play and we'll see what happens. And he says, I'm not to worry. I said, you're not to worry. Play your first game and don't worry about anything except getting hold of the ball, and you enjoy it. If you play well, perfect. If you don't play well, no problem. The following Sunday, you'll be playing again. The second Sunday, you play again, the same thing. You just go out and enjoy it. If you don't play well, no problem. You'll be playing the third Sunday as well, and it'll be like that for 4 Sundays. And after the 4th Sunday, if I and the rest of us here don't see progress from the 1st to the 4th Sunday, you'll go back to the 3rd division. And if you had made progress in that time, well, you stay with us.
Hem vist que has fet aquesta progressió de qualitat, seguiràs amb nosaltres. Bé, primer partit no marques, segon partit no marques.
In the first game he doesn't score, in the second game he doesn't score, in the third game he doesn't score. And this is a player who at other levels at the club is used to scoring 2, 3, 4 goals in every game, and this worried him a bit. And then in the 4th game I remember he played, he was man of the match, and he scored a goal. And at the end of the game we just hugged because it just took a look to say that he was staying with Barce B. And with the B team, Messi carried on doing what he'd already done with the C team, with the under-19s A and B teams, with the under-16s A and B teams, and in his 2 games with the under-14s B. In short, what he'd promised back home in Argentina.
Well,
I think that the Leo we saw in junior football is the same one who's playing in the Barca first team now. Of course, he's developed physically, he's developed tactically, and to an extent in terms of technique. But the prototype of the player, the moves he could do, the ones he's doing now in the first team he was doing in junior football. He was really dynamic, he got involved, he could win games. The schooling he's had in the Barca style has made him the best player in the world. His teammates, his coaches, the club, the city and his family. His whole environment has been steeped in the Barca philosophy. But at 13 years old, Leo was already implanted with the Barca DNA. Remember my name, Leo Messi. Don't worry, Leo, no one is ever going to forget your name, one that is and will be part of Barca's history.
I hear the things you say. I read your mind and I understand. Maybe the plans we made somehow got off the track. Maybe so, or we just forgot to plan. If it's true, I don't mind. There's a million other things that keep me up at night.